Hi, my name is Shagoto Rahman. I am a PhD student from the University of California, Irvine, and I recently published my paper entitled Enhancing Detection of User Message Intents in a Mobile Health Smoking Cessation Intervention Using Large Language Model Fine Tuning, Data Downsampling, and Error Correction. In the journal JMIR, which stands for the Journal for Medical and Internet Research. In the paper, we have basically explored the intent detection, which basically means trying to understand what the user is trying to say. I mean, understanding their goals. Basically, smoking is a like very big problem in the US. So each year there are more than 8 million people who die because of smoking related cancers, and that's like 25% of all cancer deaths in the US annually. So that's a big problem, and the smokers are really trying to quit smoking, but the problem is the underuse of the smoking cessation aids. And in this case, the mobile health interventions, for example, online social messaging, that has really helped, but the problem is it needs 24/7 support. And in that case, chatbots can really help. But the new chatbots are really not that intelligent. That's why if you can understand what the user is trying to say, that then that will really help the chatbots. The core of the chatbot will get really, really better when you understand the intents well. That's why in this case, the data that we collected from the users, there were like 82,000 user messages. We tried to understand what the users were saying. And in that case, we used the state of the art AI, which is the large language models. But since the data was really imbalanced, meaning some types of data or some types of intents were really high in the terms of the data and others were like very low, it really made the LLM understand the intents or the user goals pretty hard. That's why we applied downsampling in this case, which means we tried to shorten the data so that the other data that have really lower number of samples, for example, it can be overdose, it can be how to use the NRT nicotine replacement products. So in that case, those classes or those type of data could learn well. That's why we downsampled the other classes which has had really high amount of samples or high amount of data. And also we have seen after downsampling, there have been issues of human annotation, like human saying what intent it could be or what the user was saying. In this case, the data was not free from human annotation errors. So human also made mistakes. So then we also corrected some errors. And at the end, we saw that after downsampling, and doing human error correction, then using LLMs to learn user intents have really gained a great performance. And in terms of the result, we have also seen this gains the highest performance. Now, after this, the next step would be generating the responses. So as soon as you understand what the user is saying, so the next thing you would do is generate the response for the people. So since in this work we have really conquered the good intent detection or understanding the user's goal, now our next mission would be to trying to generate the responses. Yeah, I chose to submit my research to JMIR because it's a great journal. It's one of the top journals. It has a good impact factor. And also, it basically fits the work that we have been doing. For example, understanding the goal of the user or intent, which works at the intersection of health because it relates to smoking cessation. So it works at the intersection of health and AI. And JMI does that really well. We have read a lot of papers, so it not only gives you a platform to showcase your work, but also it basically makes your work go viral, so people from all works read your work, and so the awareness in this case really goes far and far. So that's why I think it's a great journal to showcase your work, have some exposure, but also for in terms of the awareness, it's a great platform. And also the research community, the engagement, I think increases a lot. The research goes beyond expectations, and I think for the betterment of humankind, I think this is a great journal. And that's why for the betterment from the all spheres, I think this is one of the greatest journals, and that's why I chose this journal to publish my work.